So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another module of Phase 6, another module where the overlying theme that's going to come across is simplicity is key. And it is, it's been very funny because sometimes when I teach ad stuff, I think people, and I've actually gotten this feedback, people think that we're holding advanced strategies back for to upsell or higher ticket stuff or this or that, when it's just like, no, that's the reason why we get such good results. The reason why we get such good results is because the elegance in the way that we advertise, in how light and how streamlined it is when we advertise. So, ladies and gents, really, as I'm sure you've already noticed in Phase 6, and you will continue to notice, we like simplicity here at my agency. Let me move this. IG Media, which by the time that you're watching this, hopefully has been rebranded, because I've been promising myself I would rebrand that name for probably best part of 2 years now. So on that note, let's get into it. So in today's teaching, we are going to go over what is a custom audience, what kind of custom audiences can you make, what are saved audiences, and which custom audiences are actually worth making. Now, to put it very simply, a custom audience is just a set of people that you can send ads to. Now, this audience allows you to market to people who have already expressed an interest in your brand or your product. Now, you can use sources such as customer lists, website or app traffic, engagement on Facebook or Instagram, and there's a few more options that we'll go over. Now, it is a very powerful tool to actually remind people about your offering and get the easiest and highest ROAS ad sets that you can. Now, with this in mind, it means that if you work with brands that already have something going on, for example, organic efforts that bring them visitors or engagement in their social media, you will be better than starting from scratch. Not only because of the proof of concept, but because you can retarget all these people and get them to take that buying decision or take up another offer that your client has. Now, what is a custom audience? Well, in short, this is really the way that companies follow you around social media and the internet, and is seemingly why after you visited a store, you get ads from that company. Hell, it's even the reason why you see my face in many places, including your feed, as well as different websites. I mean, look, I'm even on CNN. So much so that I'm actually in the Forbes richest people in the world. And if you look at it, it looks like I'm actually above Jeff Bezos. Now, all jokes aside, the reason that I'm seeing these ads and they're following me all around the internet is because I am in that pool of the custom audiences that we use, okay? Facebook ads don't show up on CNN or Forbes. These are actually Google display ads, and I'm gonna show you how to do that later on in the advanced training. But for Facebook ads, they do show on Instagram, Facebook, as well as some apps and games that actually uses Facebook's network. Now, later on, as I said, I will show you how to make your clients appear on pages like Forbes and CNN for very cheap. And this will be found in the module called Google Display Ads. Very self-explanatory. Now, what kind of custom audiences can you actually make? Well, there are different sources you can have for this custom audiences, but you can only pick one. Now, if you look here, the Your Sources section refers to traffic that you actually own. And the Facebook sources refers to traffic that happens inside of their apps. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to choose only one. Now, although I said that you can only pick one source for a custom audience, that doesn't mean that you have to only choose one of these audiences when running the ads, because you can choose multiple audiences, multiple of these custom audiences within your ad sets, but they have to actually be created independently. Now, let's go over the sources and discuss what they do and where they would be useful. Now, website, okay, you first select a source, which would be the Facebook pixel installed on your or your client's website. Then you're going to choose events, okay? There will show up a list of the events that have been triggered on your websites, which means you can't create a list if no one has triggered the event. Now, you can create a list of everyone that has been on the website since the pixel was installed. Moving on, we can actually create lists of visitors by time spent on the website. Now, this is created based on percentiles, which means that the top 5% of people have spent more time on the website. Okay, so we'll ignore the bottom 95%, so on and so forth. Now, this feature could be very useful if you actually have a client that gets a lot of traffic that bounces or isn't interested and they close the website very fast. Maybe this is because they have a source of traffic that, usually brings a low quality of traffic. So you don't want to retarget this. So you can use the percentile feature in order to mitigate that. Now, you can also create lists of specific URLs. Let's say, for example, I only wanted to target the people that have visited my case study for my higher level program, where we actually take agencies that are making between 5 to 10K a month and actually get them to a point where they're making 6 figures a month. But the issue here is I don't want to retarget new students because they may not be ready for it yet. So in this situation, what I can do is I can paste a link or links that I want to use as my retargeting source. And then you can do contains, which means that at least what you wrote is inside the URL, or equals, where basically the URL has to match exactly, right? It has to be a 1-for-1. Now, doesn't contain comes in handy when you want to target everyone else. For example, I want to target everyone except the people that have watched my case study. Then there's retention, which means how long do people stay in this audience? Now, this can go from 1 day all the way to 180 days. Now, in other words, you can kind of think about it as how long will people see your ads from the moment they went to your website. Now, our approach is we usually go for 180, 90, or 30 days, depending on the product and how many people we think will be in the audience. Also, if it's a product that is lower ticket and people, usually take the buying decision pretty fast, then, we would go for 30 days, right? That's kind of more the nature of that product. But if it's something like a high ticket product, we would actually go for 180 days because obviously a higher ticket product and inevitably is going to take people longer to come to that buying decision. Okay, so it all depends on the customer journey for each offer. Finally, you add a name and an optional description to the audience, which we personally never use. Now, throughout this, you may have noticed that there are actually options to include more people, exclude, or for example, add conditions like and, or, double or. Anyways, and means people must fit both conditions. Like for example, must have visited 2 different URLs, or in brackets, sorry for the confusion, guys, which is either or. Okay, so they could have visited this one or that one. It will still fit into that condition. Now, if for some reason you need this type of audience where there's, as I said, there's this condition in place, this is very important. We recommend you don't create them here, but rather create them independently. And then on the ad set, you make the exclusions or add the audiences you want to run together. So let's say, for example, you want to create an audience where people have been to this URL and this URL. Like they need to have gone to both, let's say it's whatever, like a webinar funnel. They need to have gone to both the landing page as well as the video page, as an example, right? Well, I guess that's kind of a stupid one because if they went to the video pages, inevitably they went to landing page. So let's say they went to the video page and the sales page, and you want to do something where it's those two, but not the checkout page. But let's say those two, right? So that's an and condition. People who have been went to the video page and the sales page. Now, if you wanted to use this targeting, basically what I'm saying here is I don't recommend that you create a brand new audience that has those 2 conditions together. Instead, create those audiences separately, and then in the ad set, just have that as a condition, because you can actually have those conditions natively in there, right? Reason I say this is because what will happen is you will have, this custom audience, sort of the love child of that custom audience. And now what's happening is you're spawning all of these extra custom audiences when it's not actually needed. You just need the root. Think about it more like the roots, right? You only need the root conditions. And then from there, you can kind of mix and match in the ad set level, right? This is, this isn't going to affect the performance or anything, but this is really just in terms of making sure that your custom audience section and your audience section just as a whole doesn't get too messy or clogged up. Now, I don't know if one strategy or the other affects CPMs. My guess is that, it'd be pretty much the same. So as I said, for us at the agency, this isn't a performance thing. This is merely just, hey, how can we stay as organized as possible? Now, staying on the topic of what kind of custom audiences can you make? Well, here are some of the rest of the audiences that can be created. Now, for Facebook sources, you can actually backdate as far as 1 year. And for lead forms, events, and instant experiences, this behaves roughly the same. Now, important notice is that all custom audiences update, okay? Which means that you only have to create them once. What Facebook will do is it will automatically update them every few hours if they are running in an ad set. This means that some people will be getting out, like as in they'll be moving out of that period. For example, when their last interaction is outside the time frame of the audience, and new people that just interacted and met the conditions will be going into that audience, okay? So as I said, really important. You don't, like if you make one of these custom audiences, don't think that you need to do it for, the past 30 days. And then in 30 days, you need to make another one for the 30 days prior. Like this is a sort of living and breathing organism. This is something that's actually updated real time as long as it's being used in an ad set. Now, what are saved audiences? Well, we've already seen what can be done with the interest. Now there's an option to actually save those audiences and get them to show up on the audience library. Now this is done by clicking on the Save Audience button, and then they can be found in the Use Save Audience section. Remember, this is all within the ad set. Now, the reason why someone would do this is because it can be useful if you have combinations that you use often, but as said previously, we don't use this feature much. Now, as an important notice, you can't create lookalikes from saved audiences. Now, I'll be kind of touching a little bit more on lookalikes in the next module. Now, let's talk about which custom audiences are worth creating, because as explained in the module, which I think I called how many of which, campaign structure, something like that. Yeah, I think. Anyways, our approach to retargeting is very straightforward, and we will only have 2 or 3 ad sets. So for the most part, these are really the 3 custom audiences that we use. All pixel data, and as I said, depending on the brand and sort of how high ticket or low ticket the product is, that'll be a 180, a 90, or a 30-day audience. We've got all IG engagers as well as all Facebook engagers. Now, these 2 engagers audiences include everyone that has interacted with the ad. So that's very, very important to note. Now, as mentioned right at the beginning of this module, the reason that we get such great results at the agency is the elegance in the way that we advertise and just how sort of lightweight and streamlined everything is. But I'm not going to leave you with the method that we use, and I'm going to show you sort of a conflicting or another perspective, you can say, right? A lot of other people use different methods and use other strategies. So I'm going to show you another viewpoint when it comes to the custom audience side of things. Now here, what you're seeing is custom audiences that would sort of fit into more standard bottom of funnel campaign, okay? Now this strategy entails the creation of multiple short-term audiences like 7-day, 3-day, 14-day, and you retarget them for each step. So for example, you might only retarget initiate checkout of the past 3 days and exclude purchases. Now, obviously this has taken another step when it comes to complexity, as some people do this and then also exclude everyone else. For example, they might retarget add to cart, but then they will also exclude view content, initiate checkout, purchases, etc. As I said, in theory, you don't want to be overlapping audiences or targeting people who have bought already. However, in practice, what we find is that this is not true or practical, because what happens is CPMs skyrocket when audiences are too small and they simply underperform. Now, they may have higher ROASs in that ad set, but when you compare it to all pixel targeting, it's simply not doing as much volume. So as I said, when it comes to our custom audiences and sort of the way that we retarget, yes, we do have some overlap. Yes, sometimes the ads will get served to existing customers, which by the way, we actually prefer because, we're very careful to make sure that every single client that we work with has a great product. So sort of a side benefit is what happens a lot of time is happy customers will actually comment on the ads and be like, bought the product, was so great, recommend it for everyone, etc., etc. So that's one added benefit. But I said the main reason we do it is, yes, we know that there will be some overlap, but CPMs are so low in comparison to using a hyper-targeted sort of bottom of funnel method. So with this bottom of funnel method, you are technically being more streamlined and efficient, but the issue is you are diluting the ad spend so much and in turn raising the CPM so high that you're spending more money. Okay, you are spending so much more money per 1,000 impressions that, as I said, for us, it's great because the way that we do things is simpler, less headache, less complexity. And we have tested this many times and as I said, feel free to question this and try this on your own. But the way that we've do it is simpler. It has all those benefits. And the funny thing is that we always end up getting better results anyways. So I guess that might be something important to note is, always focus on elegance and simplicity when advertising. Less truly is more. And on that big bombshell, there's no action step for today. Keep that last statement I made in mind, and I will catch you guys in the next module.